The City of Elmhurst and the School and Community Assistance for Recycling and Composting Education, SCARES, are inviting residents to recycle their cooking oil after the Thanksgiving holiday. Residents can bring their used liquid cooking oil in a milk jug, bucket, or other container to the Elmhurst Public Works Garage, 985 South Riverside Drive, on Saturday, November 24th from 9 a.m. till noon. Cooking oil sticks to sewer pipes and can cause clogs and breaks that are costly for homeowners and municipalities to fix. Grease also interferes with the water treatment process at our sanitary facilities. Once collected, Green Grease Environmental and Chicago Biofuels will convert the cooking oil into biodiesel fuel. Representatives from various organizations will be on site at the collection to assist residents and ensure that only cooking oil is deposited into the recycling bin. Please see www.scaresecoed.org for more information.
Good evening. As a former Jaycee and as a former chairperson of this event, I am very pleased to welcome you to the 66th Annual Elmhurst Jaycee's Distinguished Service Award Banquet. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a wonderful program prepared to honor our recipient, Cathy Jordan, tonight. Cathy is the first person that I have ever nominated for this honor. And when I first worked with her for 3 years ago, I immediately knew that she would be a fabulous recipient, and I'm very happy to see so many people in the audience that agree with me. So we begin our program tonight with the invocation, and here to give that is our 2007 recipient, Ken Bartels. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Julie, and good evening to each and every one of you. Before our invocation, I would like you to join me in celebrating the life of Jackie Haddad with a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. Now please join me in prayer. Almighty God, on an evening that we thank Cathy Jordan for her service, we begin by thanking you for putting her here in Elmhurst with all of us in the first place, for her many talents and leadership abilities shared throughout our community, for her passion, dedication, organization, and skills applied to so many facets of our city, always making an impact. We thank you as we thank her, understanding that her generosity of spirit flows from you to us. We are grateful to have Cathy Jordan as a family member, a friend, a mentor, a role model, and a genuine example of how giving to others is the greatest gift we can bestow. On an evening that we thank Cathy for her service, we begin by thanking you each and every day. Amen. Please enjoy your dinner and table conversations. Thank you.
Hope everyone's having a good time tonight. My name is Mike Himmis. I'm part of the Elmhurst Jaycees, and I want to congratulate Cathy on receiving the 66th Annual DSA Award. I also want to thank you all for being here to support Cathy and take part in our event tonight. With that, the first speaker of the evening will be our very own mayor of the city of Elmhurst, Steve Morley. He's not even up yet. Need me to start for you?
Do I look old enough now, John? Okay, welcome everybody. My honor and pleasure to be here. I have to correct Mike, though. I am not a speaker, I'm a special presenter. And apparently I'm not a friend either. Julie Miller, former Jaycees and friend. Jan Dorner, longtime friend. Steve Morley, mayor. Just saying it hurts. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, it's my honor to be here. And my speech is a little easy tonight because I have a lot of proclamations to get through. That's really my job tonight. But I do want to say a couple things about Cathy. Certainly the Distinguished Citizens Award. Is that what it's called? Did I get that wrong? I got it wrong, didn't I? Sorry, Distinguished Service Award. I apologize, Cathy. Oh, thanks, John. Hold on a second. Nope, Quigley's not on here. All right. So the Distinguished Service Award is dedicated to someone who makes Elmhurst a better community. And I can't think of someone more deserving of this award than Cathy Jordan. She is just such a wonderful person. I can tell you this, from a personal standpoint, there's 44,000 people in Elmhurst, and I think there's 44,000 people in Elmhurst with great ideas, because I get them all the time. Most often, somebody comes up to me and says, Mayor, I got a great idea. You know, hey, you got to do this. You got to get a Trader Joe's. You got to do this. And then they're like, go get him, Mayor, and they walk away. Cathy never does that. Cathy comes up and says, Mayor, I got a great idea. Take note folks who want to get involved, and then she follows it up with, this is how I'm going to get it done. I'm telling you, that's what Cathy does. Also, rest assured, if I hear about a great idea that's out in the community, and I'm talking to Grabowski or Kopp or somebody, and I'll say, okay, well, I heard this thing percolating up. I mean, is this really going to happen? And if I get the, oh, Cathy Jordan's involved, I absolutely know it's going to get done. So, Cathy, you're a treasure. You're second to none. This award couldn't go to a better person. I do have to put the glasses on now, John. So I have several proclamations here. Certainly the City of Elmhurst one, that's the most important. We're going to read that one at the end. But I have some other folks here who have chimed in who think you're pretty special as well. So, I have Senator Tammy Duckworth sends her congratulations on your award. We have a letter here from her. Congressman Mike Quigley is also very happy that you're being honored as the 66th Distinguished Service Award recipient. State Representative Deanne Mazzocchi would also like to congratulate you. And then Alderman Chris Nybo. Oh, I'm sorry. Some people get it. Chris Nybo, Senator Chris Nybo, is sent a certificate of recognition from the Illinois State Senate, which is also very nice. And then the state of Illinois, the 100th General Assembly, House of Representatives, has also recognized Cathy Jordan, and it's signed by Speaker Mike Madigan. So, Cathy, there's a lot of people who recognize how special you are this evening. That having been said, I also have a City of Elmhurst proclamation. Dare I say, I don't think it's the first one that Cathy has received, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I will read some of it. Whereas Cathy Jordan, a loyal Elmhurst resident and prominent figure of the Elmhurst community for more than 45 years. I like the way we put that. We just said more than 45, and we left it at that. Has a long history of remarkable service and dedication to the City of Elmhurst. Cathy is best known throughout Elmhurst for her commitment to her philanthropy work and local charities and organizations that help enhance the quality of life for others. Cathy served for 12 years on the Community Unit School District Board, including 3 as president, and on the YMCA Board of Directors for 10 years. Her current position as the chair of the Elmhurst Senior Citizens Commission, Cathy's commitment has been instrumental in improving transportation, education, housing, and senior collaborations for seniors in the City of Elmhurst. Whereas Cathy has also served as an influential member of the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation since its inception in 2007, whereas Cathy was named volunteer director for DuPage Senior Citizens Council in 2013, where she started volunteering in 2004 and manages thousands of volunteers with kindness and compassion. And whereas, because of her unwavering and relentless commitment to the Elmhurst community, she has enriched the lives of countless of people around her. Now, therefore, I, Steve Morley, Mayor of the City of Elmhurst, with great pride, hereby proclaim October 24th, 2018 as Cathy Jordan Day. I cannot think of a better recipient. And, Bill, am I to recognize the next person? I'm happy to do it. Is longtime friend Jan Dorner here with us? Here she comes. All right, Jan Dorner, everybody.
Hi all. Thank you all for being here to honor the Distinguished Service Awardee, Cathy Jordan. I've known Cathy for almost 30 years. Cathy was one to jump in with both feet when it came to service. She was involved in several levels of PTA at local schools and at the citywide level. Whether it was chairing the Halloween Carnival, serving as president, or doing a skit for Picture Person, she not only got the job done, she enjoyed herself doing it. We volunteered for different spots with PTA, but we ended up in the same spot when she encouraged me to go to school board meetings to learn what is happening throughout the district and what is being planned for the future. I remember attending school board meetings with her where she would explain the history of an action taken or a vote proposed. And thank you, Cathy, because I'm still doing it after 25 stinking years. She was tri-chair of a referendum during that time, another volunteer opportunity to give speeches, walk door to door, passing out literature and talking to the community, making phone calls and fundraising for the printing and the mailings. In the end, this was an unsuccessful endeavor, but it encouraged her to run for the school board to help form plans for future ballot initiatives. She ended up running for and winning a seat on the board. This position is the ultimate in volunteering. Not only does one have to campaign and spend money to win the seat, one spends lots of times at meetings, various school functions, and events within the community representing the school district and the board. Cathy did lots of these events, several per week at times, and of course this honor came with lots of advice and complaints from community members. She almost always had a smile on her face and enjoyed the interaction with students, staff, and community. Cathy was president for at least 2 years, and I guess it was 3, sorry. You can't have a longtime friend give a speech because she kind of has fuzzy memories. While on the board, and her tenure included the referendum that produced the additions and remodeling of the high school. The crown jewel of the district finally was befitting its name. Cathy's contribution on the board had a lasting impression on the school district and the community in general. When her service on the board ended, Cathy moved on to the Senior Citizen Commission, helping seniors in Elmhurst with government and other agencies. As her involvement with the commission, Cathy also produced many educational programs that benefit seniors. Once again, she is still providing service to our community. Cathy's most recent feats of accomplishment are her years of chairing the Elmhurst History Museum Craft Beer Fest. Besides being a terrific fundraiser for the History Museum, it's another great time to enjoy the community in which we live, with Cathy Jordan making it all the better. Thanks, Cathy, for your service for the Elmhurst community. And I get to introduce Joe Morris, who was superintendent during part of Cathy's tenure on the board.
Well, good evening. You all asleep after you ate? Cathy, I'm sorry to say that the line of presenters is sort of going downhill. You went from the mayor to a longtime friend to an unemployed former teacher. So I'm not sure who the next person is in terms of what they're going to talk about. I couldn't determine how long this speech should be, so I asked Tom Marcucci to give me some guidance. And he said, just do it just like I would do. So it's either this or you get the causes of the American Revolution. And I think I've probably outlived my welcome in terms of the teaching about that. I would join with others in recognizing Cathy for all of the contributions that she has made to the Elmhurst community and to the residents of Elmhurst. One of the things that I've had the opportunity to do is to know her for really almost 20 years. And it has been a special opportunity for me to see a person who is willing to participate in activities that oftentimes were challenging and difficult, and at the same time respond to the needs of residents always in a positive and in a hopeful and friendly manner. And that's unusual because usually, particularly if you're on the school board, that works for about a meeting. And then sometimes
it is less than positive, the interaction that you have with everyone who wants, obviously, the best for their child and the best that they can get from a Board of Education. What I'd really like to do is just briefly focus on 3 different sets of activities that I think Cathy was really instrumental in causing to be successful. The first of these is the Elmhurst Historic Museum, or the Heritage Foundation. One of the things that Cathy did, as Jan mentioned, Cathy was very involved with the Craft Beer Fest, which was important for making revenue that would help the museum and other organizations to initiate programs. But more than that, the Craft Beer Fest was a perfect example of melding together information provided to participants, an opportunity for them to try out the goods, and then an opportunity for, frankly, the city and the Historic Museum to reach out to the 20 and 30-year-olds who often don't get a lot of programming in Elmhurst. And this was something that I thought was really special, of how all of those came together. And frankly, it was the leadership that Cathy brought to the project that caused that project to be successful and to continue on. So the next time that you're sitting in that tent and drinking, think of Cathy. And maybe you can sort of view yourself as a 20 or 30-year-old. That's probably positive too. A second area is obviously the commission that Cathy is involved in Elmhurst. And again, I'd like to focus just on one particular piece, and that was that Cathy was really involved with the city, and in having the city work together with the senior commission to get a few things done that would not have gotten accomplished: transportation, parking, services for seniors. And that's something that she continues to carry on, and something that I think is really a highlight for all of us to focus in on. Finally, I have to talk a little bit about the school district from Cathy. And I don't have anything on land that'll be in terms of a roast. I didn't find out that was supposed to be the approach that we're used to now. But if I had known in advance that I had that opportunity, that could have been interesting. You'd have one less person on that speaker's list, probably. Friend, ex-friend. At any rate, one of the things that, really there are 2 things that Cathy impressed me with in terms of the positions that she would pursue for the community and for parents and for students. One of those, you may be surprised, was vocational education. Obviously, there are lots of kids from the Elmhurst community that go on to school and go on to college and have some very successful college careers. But there are also advantages, really 2 that I can think of, for having a vocational experience as well. First, that's sort of the expectation once you get out in the business world, that you can take all of this good information that you've gotten, like, X plus Y equals 2X plus something, and apply it someplace along the line in terms of how do I cut a particular board to make sure that that matches. And let's face it, there are some kids in vocational education who come right out of York High School and move right into a business in an area that really we need to be proud of. That's a route that I think is going to continue to be one that is going to be pursued. And Cathy was a great proponent in terms of making sure kids had that option. And a second one, just very quickly, is that it is a lot cheaper to take a vocational program in high school and learn a little bit about it than to take it in college and have to pay $1,000 for a 3-credit-hour course. It's your opportunity to, as I used to say to kids, to really expand your experiences and learn some new things that you may not have known before. That's one of the things that I think high schools should provide as an outlet that very often we don't get. Or by the time you get to college, your chances of taking the psychology courses you desperately wanted is one that you can't fit into your schedule anymore, or art or photography or something else along that kind of line, or printing. Finally, Cathy was worried particularly about those kids who slip through the cracks because they're good kids, they do fine in school, but they're probably not going to get funding because they're in AP classes, because the colleges are going to provide them with scholarships, or you have kids that are in special education programs and get some support that way. Cathy used to always ask, what about the child that's in the middle? What about that child who's not getting perhaps the same kind of attention as some of the other kids in the class? And it's not to say that she was not cognizant of all of the other students who needed services, but Cathy was particularly concerned to make sure that we were eminently fair in terms of the time that we spent with individual children and individual families. I again appreciate the opportunity to be one of the people that recognizes Cathy for her many achievements, and I look forward to many more years of her contributions in Elmhurst. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. So my mom has been working for the Elmhurst Historical Museum for, 10, 15 years. I don't know what it is. So now I get the privilege of introducing my mom's former boss, the former director of the Elmhurst Historical Museum, Brian Berghager.
See what happens when you grow up? You introduce your mom's boss. Well, thanks, Mike, and good evening. I'm happy to be here to support Cathy as this year's recipient of the DSA Award. For those of you who don't know me, I spent much of my career here in Elmhurst, retiring 1 year ago as the director of the Elmhurst History Museum. I was fortunate throughout my career to work at a number of museums. Some were large, like the Minnesota Historical Society, which has several hundred employees. Others were smaller, had much smaller staffs. It was over that period of time of my career that I came to appreciate the critical roles that volunteers and board members have in the success of an institution, no matter its size, no matter its budget. Simply said, volunteers and governing boards are two critical factors that influence whether an institution is successful and flourishes, or whether it struggles and flounders. Cathy Jordan, I'm here to say, distinguished herself with notable service to the Elmhurst History Museum and the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, which is the private nonprofit fundraising organization for the museum. She helped them to flourish and succeed in many, many ways. Cathy's service over many years is best described by two words. Cathy's been all in all the time. There's little she's not done as a volunteer or as a board member. She first became involved with the Museum and the Heritage Foundation in 2007 as an integral volunteer, helping to plan a gala event in celebration of the museum's 50th anniversary. This first ever major fundraising event for the organization was wildly successful. It raised over $60,000 in financial support, but most importantly, it brought the museum and the foundation to the attention of community members and donors. Its success was due in no small way to the generosity of Cathy and others on that committee who shared their experience and knowledge of fundraising here in Elmhurst. Cathy was invited to join the board of the foundation in 2008, where she continued to be deeply involved in fundraising events, both as a chairperson of committees and as a committee member. The Churchville Schoolhouse was the beneficiary of several of these events, and I know the schoolhouse has always been close to Cathy's heart, going back to the time of her service on the board of 205, when District 205 actually owned the Churchville Schoolhouse. It was often through her role on these committees and fundraising events that strategic alliances were struck with other community leaders and organizations, much to the benefit of both the foundation and the museum. Cathy served also in other leadership roles with the foundation. In 2012, she was appointed by the board to be its vice president, and she went on to serve 2 terms as the board president. It was during her first term as president, beginning in late 2013, that the board kicked off the public phase of its very first ever capital campaign, an effort that raised over $300,000 to fund a major long-term exhibition about the history of Elmhurst. As president of the foundation, Cathy generously attached her name and her reputation to the capital campaign, clearly demonstrating to me at that time an immense amount of trust in both the foundation and in the museum. And it was obvious to me once again that Cathy was all in at the Elmhurst History Museum and Elmhurst Heritage Foundation. She's also been a leader in grassroots work at the foundation, helping to ensure the organization's sustainability. For instance, she was a strong voice for succession planning at the board level and drew from her own network of community leaders to recruit highly qualified individuals for board service. We just need to look over here at Dr. Morris or Mike LaCicero, who came to service with Elmhurst Heritage Foundation through Cathy. She chaired an advocacy committee charged with communicating important and timely messages about the foundation, and she devoted many hours of her wisdom and legwork to the creation and operation of the foundation's ongoing membership program. She also served on a strategic planning committee where her experience and knowledge helped set direction for the futures of the foundation and the museum. As it's been said earlier, Cathy most recently has been the co-chair or chair of the Elmhurst Craft Beer Fest. That's in 2015, 2016, 2017, and most recently this past fall. This is a major fundraising event for the foundation, and with Cathy's leadership, it has become a signature event within the Elmhurst community. And this is where I get to share a dirty little secret about the Beer Fest. Cathy does not even like beer. Now, how generous is that? You share a committee for Beer Fest and you don't even like beer. I consider myself fortunate to have worked with Cathy over 10 years and can only begin to express the many ways and the countless hours she contributed most heartedly to the foundation and to the museum. As I said earlier, there's very little that Cathy has not done as a volunteer or as a board member. So it's with my deep appreciation and personal gratitude that I congratulate Cathy Jordan as most deserving of the Jaycee's Distinguished Service Award.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, I would like to introduce the Executive Director of the DuPage Senior Citizens Council, Marilyn Krolak.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my honor to be here, and thank you, Dan. I've got some titanium and screws in both feet, so I have faith in them, but I always appreciate a little hand up onto the podium. You know, I'm going to take this in a little different direction. I'm going to take it out of Elmhurst, because that's where I know Cathy. The DuPage Senior Citizens Council has roots in Elmhurst. There were about 6 different individuals that started that organization back in '75, and one of them was Mary Eleanor Wall, someone you know well. They advocated for seniors, and then in the mid-'80s, they applied for and got the grant for home-delivered meals and community dining. We still have it. And it is a county-wide organization. And that is where I came to know Cathy. It is wonderful to hear you all talk about what she has done. And it is rewarding for me and some of my staff members that are here, because we kind of know that about her, but we know her in her day job. And it's usually just about work. It's not about the other things that we know she does, but we're not able to revel in as we're doing tonight. But Cathy came to us doing all other things all over Elmhurst. She decided to volunteer and deliver home-delivered meals. And then she worked part-time as a site manager at different locations in the county, coordinating the volunteers and the food and making sure that the routes went out on time. She would come into monthly meetings, and her leadership skills were just so much there. She led the way and was a role model for a lot of the other site managers. And then one day, I got to thinking, when there was a vacancy open for the director of volunteers, the volunteer coordinator, I said, "Hey, Cathy, I've got something I think that you'd be interested in." And she was, and she's done that now for several years. This woman is in charge of 1,800 volunteers that we have countywide. One of the unique skills that she has is she will get people from Villa Park to go to Bensonville. She'll get people from Carroll Stream to go out to Naperville. She will move those seniors around because she will let them know how important the job is, and her passion always shows through. I don't know if you know this, but Naperville recently revamped over the last couple of years their senior program and their services and how they deal and as a community with seniors. Cathy was called. And Cathy, based on her wonderful experience and what she's done here in Elmhurst, was one of the guiding lights for the city of Naperville. I think it was last year or the year before, Cathy, she went to the Meals on Wheels Convention of America, and there she was with peers from all over the country. The best of the best was there, represented by Miss Jordan there on a national level. And it's not over. Where you are talking about the past and what she's accomplished, it's a day job. I and her coworkers are going to see Cathy tomorrow morning, and she is going to undertake one of the biggest things that anyone can accomplish. In March, we were awarded the grant for community dining and home-delivered meals in Kane County. So Cathy is going to tackle another county. How about them apples, Miss Jordan? So, although this is an event that is honoring her, well-deserved honor, and it is just a pleasure to really be here and hear all of these wonderful, enriching things about Cathy. Cathy's not done. Her spirit and her commitment and her passion for life, for people, and giving back is going to go on and on and on. She is a treasure for us at the DuPage Senior Citizens Council. She is a role model for our younger people. And when I grow up, I want to be just like Cathy. Cathy, thank you so much.
All right, and that concludes our speakers, but I wanted to introduce the president of the Elmhurst Jaycees, who will present the award, Bill Fergus.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you everybody who came out tonight. It's really impressive from the people that showed up to support Cathy, to the sponsors, to the people involved with that. It's really an amazing night. And as I sit here at the table looking over what I prepared to speak, there's kind of really two truths that came through. First, and this is something that came through when Cathy and I first chatted about the DSA. And you know, I've known her for a couple of years now, but the things I know about her is just her humbleness and her sincerity. And when I told her she won, she almost was surprised and shocked. And I think that she was really taken aback, and it really meant a lot that this is why we do this award. The second thing she said was, "What if no one comes?" Cathy, look around. Look around, Cathy. Now, I blundered the program. I shouldn't have isolated friends, because you have a lot of friends and they're all here tonight. So apologies to those that felt left out. Cathy has a lot of friends. The second point I realized is that to my wife over there, if she wants a Trader Joe's, she needs to make friends with Cathy. So the Jaycee's mission is to empower young community leaders to create positive change. And I say this as being a Jaycee for the last few years, that this is really the reason I do this every year and involved. So we work with groups, many are represented today. We work with UCCA, EOKT, Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, Special Kids Day, many groups that are here at the Chamber. And really what we do is we donate our time and resources to help others in need. And Cathy, you and the 65 DSA recipients that came before us, you continue to be the inspiration for what we do at the Jaycees. You are what we aspire to be, and we're the reason we exist. So for those of you that might not know, the Jaycee stands for the Junior Chamber of Commerce. We're a 40 and under group, and we're a service organization really devoted to making change happen in our community. And we do this by partnering with local organizations, many of you guys in attendance today, and people and groups. And this is actually how I met Cathy. A couple years ago, she was getting the Craft Beer Fest going. I was helping figure out our carnival. She needed sponsors and volunteers. We needed corporate sponsorship, and somehow we got connected. Now, the first time I met Cathy, I remember talking to her, and I said, "Wow, this person's amazing. She's energetic, she's exciting, she's passionate, she's connected. And even though she wants our help as the Jaycees, she's actually more willing to help me than I can offer her." And I just thought, this is fantastic. I was like, you know what? And in addition to being able to get sponsorship, I said, I think Cathy could be a good member of the Jaycees. She's who we look for. So, and just if there was a little bit of doubt, I was like, you know what? I mean, she's setting up a beer fest. What the hell? She's got to be in our target demo. This is great. Who else would be doing this? A few weeks later, I got the pleasure to meet Cathy in person, and everything I thought about her was still true. Energetic, passionate, inspired, connected, wanting to help, and just make everybody else's lives around her better, and that's what I took away from her. And, you know, Cathy, I'm sorry, we couldn't figure out the Jaycees thing. I apologize. Rules are rules. I mean, it's a national organization. I tried, but it just didn't work out. And even though we couldn't make that happen, I'm still so pleased that tonight we're able to present you with the Distinguished Service Award for the Jaycees. So if everybody could take a quick sec and take your programs, the little purple things out there, and turn it to the back page. I want to point your attention towards the Jaycees Creed. And this is something we say at every one of our meetings. This is how we conclude our meetings. This is something that we recite as an organization. And it goes, we believe that faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life, that the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nations, that economic justice can best be won by free men through free enterprise, that government should be of laws rather than of men, and that Earth's greatest treasure lies in human personality. And we come to the last line, and this is the line, this is the reason we're all here tonight. That line is that, and that service to humanity is the best work of life. And at this time, I would like to recognize the DSA alumni that are in audience today. And after I call their name, I would ask that each of you come to the front to help receive our guest of honor. And tonight, I'm going to start off just in remembrance of who was our oldest living DSA recipient. He's no longer with us, but definitely remembered. It begins with Jackie Haddad. Now I would like to call up here to welcome to the receiving line James Halberg. Ralph Pecacciano. I know, I butcher that every time. I'm sorry. Betsy Hanisch. Ken Bartels. Shirley Myers. Rich Rosenberg. Kevin and Sarah Diamond. John Quigley. Susie Sands. And Bill Shanklin. And now, on behalf of the Elmhurst Jaycees, I'm honored and proud to announce the recipient of the Elmhurst Jaycees 2018 Distinguished Server Award is Cathy Jordan. Cathy, please come on up. Yeah, come over. There we go. Shake all the hands. Yeah, you don't get out of this one, Cathy. As Cathy comes up, the plaque says, so in recognition of your selflessness, commitment of time, unwavering dedication, and leadership to the Elmhurst community. Elmhurst Jaycees.
Bravo!
It's all yours, Cathy. Thank you.
Wow, that's all I can say. I am so overwhelmed. Let's give another round of applause for those DSA people. Come on. Before I start, I just would like to share with you, Jackie Haddad was a dear friend of mine, and I want to say she said she wanted to be right in the front row. I know that she's here in spirit, and if anybody knows how Jackie is, she was a fundraising queen. She taught me everything I know, and every time I did anything, she'd say, "Did you negotiate, Cathy?" I said, "Of course I did, Jackie." So I know she's up there and she's negotiating. She's negotiating. I'm honored and humbled to be the recipient of the Jaycee's 66th Annual Distinguished Service Award. When Bill Fergus called me to share the news that I had been selected, it took me a while to process the honor that was being given to me. For one time in my life, I was speechless. For those of you who know me, it takes a lot. Just ask my husband. And I did ask. That was an interesting, I said, "Will anybody come?" You have really made my heart sing. Thank you so much for being here. I would like to take a few minutes to thank the people who have been kind enough to nominate me and have shared some of my volunteer service that I have contributed to organizations throughout my years living in Elmhurst. Julie Miller. Julie and her husband, Patrick, are donors of the Heritage Foundation, and they both have volunteered and poured beer at the Craft Beer Fest. Julie comes dressed as a German lass and typically is a scene stealer at the beer tents. Everybody wants to get served by Julie. She shared she wanted me to tell stories of how Elmhurst has evolved over the years. Julie, that would take a long time. I could write a book. I do have a story at the end, but we have to have dinner and wine. Thank you to Mary Morley, he is my friend, for all of his support for the Senior Commission and the Heritage Foundation. That is the fundraising arm for the History Museum and Churchville Schoolhouse. He always is supportive, listens, and is available when I need to talk to him about anything. Joel Morris, past superintendent of schools, brought stability and trust to our community, working with all leadership in the community to pass the 2000 referendum, to build York High School and upgrade facilities across the district. Brian Berghager, past executive director of the History Museum, always professional, humble, detailed, working tirelessly to help shape the Elmhurst Foundation, giving great advice, and always ready to give a helping hand to make everything perfect. Jan Dorner, longtime friend. Our children went to school together, and we have been friends through thick and thin. We have always supported each other when times got tough, and she is a true, loyal friend. I can close my eyes. I know you're there, Jan. Love you. Mary Lynn Krolik, Executive Director for Meals on Wheels in DuPage County and Kane County. I have worked for 14 years at DuPage Senior Citizens Council, and Mary Lynn and the people who work there care deeply about seniors living safely and independently in their homes with dignity. Thank you to Ken Bartels for the invocation. Always does a dynamite job. Is there anything that goes on in town that doesn't have Ken doing that? All of these people I have worked with and volunteered with in different capacities. The people I have worked the hardest with, I have become the closest to, and I thank them for being very dear friends of mine. Being a volunteer director at DSCC and hosting an outstanding senior award program for the Senior Commission, I am usually the person recognizing volunteers for all their dedicated volunteer service. This is a reverse role for me. It was very challenging and very difficult. I always say volunteers do not volunteer for self-recognition, but to make a difference. And if they can inspire one person to give the precious gift of time, then their contribution has been priceless. My philosophy on volunteering, I compare it to a parade. You can be a part of the parade and make it happen, or you can be on the sidelines and watch it go by. I have typically chosen to be part of the parade. But how do you put 47 plus years of volunteer service into a 15-minute overview? I timed it, 15 minutes, folks, you're in for it. I feel like this is the twilight of my life. The description of the Distinguished Service Award is to honor an individual for outstanding lifetime volunteer service to the community. I have had time to reflect on who has influenced me the most. I have had many people influence me, but the people who have influenced me the most in my life were my parents, in particular, my father. My father married into my mother's large Irish Catholic family. After they got married, my father left to serve in the Navy. He was a diver in the Second World War, and he dismantled bombs. When he came home, he joined my mother's brothers and became a Chicago fireman. All 7 brothers and 2 in-laws, including my dad, were either firemen or policemen. Every Sunday, all the brothers, sisters, in-laws, and children would visit my grandmother Murphy, a little bit Irish. Being raised Catholic, my grandmother was like the Pope. You had to see her every Sunday. It was a madhouse with cousins running all over in the house, some playing the piano in the front room, and all the adults sitting around the kitchen table talking about fires in the city, lives they had saved, or just plain funny or tragic human life. Stories. Those of us old enough would sit and listen to all those stories. My father was one of the firemen at the Our Lady of the Angels fire, and I can remember him coming home devastated. It took a huge toll on him. My father had one flaw, and that was he could not say no to anyone who asked him for help. My mother always called him John Wayne. She used to say, "There he goes, riding into the sunset, helping somebody else, but not me." My dad retired from the Chicago Fire Department, became bored at home, and worked at the fire as a fire chief in Redington Beach until he retired again for a second time at 80. Looking back, I grew up in an environment and culture that did not know anything else but service and giving back to the community. Phil and I moved to Elmhurst 47 plus years ago and started our family. When my children, Danny and Christy, were in school, I wanted to be involved not only with their education, but with everything. Carnivals, room mom, picture person, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, after-school activities, baseball, soccer, hockey, gym, and PTA. My commitment to PTA and education followed my children through Lincoln Elementary School, onto Bryan School, Middle School, and York High School. I held many positions within PTA, including president, PTA council president, and membership chair at the district level. These were very progressive years within the city of Elmhurst and District 205 schools. Things were changing. Elmhurst was growing, expanding, evolving, and the school facilities needed updating and flexible space that could support current teaching methods of a new era. 1991 was a big year. In 1991, I served on the Facilities Task Force and became very familiar with all the program needs and facilities in District 205. We even recommended all-day kindergarten, and at that time, that was really out-of-the-box thinking. It's kind of interesting because that's what we're looking at now. I was asked to be a tri-chair for one of the first referendums with Jack Tosh and Lori Heyer. The Board of Education put together a bare-bones referendum that really did not meet the long-term needs of the district, and one board member even voted against that referendum, setting it up to fail, and it did. The referendum failed because it was not the right plan. It would take 2 more referendums before success was achieved. Also in 1991, my husband Phil was elected as the 5th Ward Alderman, and I helped with his campaign, learning the many ins and outs of how to run a campaign. To this day, I love helping with campaigns, and I know there are some of you in here that I have helped. After the referendum failed, I was urged to run for the Board of Education, and in 1993, I was elected. With 2 elected officials in the House, when people would call our home, they would say, "What are you doing, Cathy?" And I would say, "Well, Phil and I are just tiffing around today." Tiffs were pretty popular then, so it was a very busy time between raising our family, Phil serving as alderman, and me serving on the Board of Education. I served for 3 terms. In those 3 terms, I was a strong supporter of putting children's educational needs first. Intergovernmental agreements, foreign language, special education, voc tech, technology and equity in all schools. My most memorable moments on the Board of Education were many, but the highlights for me were the passing of the 2000 school referendum, renovating York High School and the elementary schools, and celebrating by TPing the trees at York High School, hoping no one would call the police. Cutting the ribbon of the new York High School and being the president who handed over the keys of the Churchville Schoolhouse to Mayor Marcucci. I decided to run for a 4th term, and I lost by 35 votes. I really loved serving on the Board of Education, and I was pretty bummed out. I'm going to call that my blue period. It was a blue period. But when one door opens or closes, another one opens. Shortly after losing my election, Frank Catalano Jr. asked me to be on the 50th celebration for the Elmhurst Museum. The 50th year celebration was a huge success, and I was asked by Frank again to be on the new foundation board. I said, "Why do I want to do that?" All he had to do was mention the Churchville Schoolhouse, and it was a done deal. The Churchville Schoolhouse has always had a special place in my heart, and my dream on a visionary level is that one day the Churchville Schoolhouse and Fisher Farm will evolve into another attraction similar to Naperville Settlement. I always say dream big. I have served on the foundation for over 10 years and worked alongside many wonderful, dedicated people. The foundation provides advocacy, education, and fundraising for the museum and Churchville Schoolhouse. Several years ago, we sponsored a capital campaign generating $300,000 for the new By All Counts, the Story of Elmhurst exhibit on the 2nd floor of the Gloss Mansion. By All Accounts shares the stories of people, places, and events that define the city we love, Elmhurst. The foundation has hosted many galas, but for the last 4 years has hosted the Elmhurst Craft Beer Fest. I was asked to chair the first fest, and in the most impossible time frame of 12 weeks, the committee pulled the fest together. And Brian is absolutely right. I asked, "Why are you asking me to chair this? I drink wine." So I still drink wine. Okay. I need to recognize Christy Blessing, who taught us, and I used to say to Christy, "You are a blessing." I mean, that is a pun, but is it a true thought on my part? She taught us how to run a beer fest, and her establishment, Pints, has been a platinum sponsor for 3 years, including this past year an event sponsor. My hat is off to Dave Noble, the Pints general manager, and Diana Payne, Barrel House general manager, for all their contributions to this fun-filled fest. This year, we had the most sponsors, volunteers, 52 brewers with over 100 plus craft beers and ciders to be sampled. Over 600 people attended from 43 surrounding areas, including Elmhurst. The fest also gives us an opportunity to showcase the museum, city center, and the restaurants in Elmhurst. Now here comes the advertisement. Mark your calendars. We are planning a 5th fest on September 14th. Also make sure you don't miss the new upcoming exhibit starting on November 15th, Hometown Holidays. It's a Wonderful Life in Elmhurst, a takeoff of the movie It's a Wonderful Life and one of my favorite Christmas films. The next door that opened, I was asked by Shirley Myers to serve on the Elmhurst Senior Commission. I need to tell you, I don't think I'm old enough to serve on that commission. Phil told me to take a look at my driver's license. We all think we are Peter Pan, never going to age, but it does happen. I went to one meeting and I found this commission not only complimented my age and place and time, but went hand in hand with checking my driver's license. I was a senior. The Senior Commission recommends policies, programs, and services and provides information. and advocates to enhance the quality of life for older adults in Elmhurst. There are 4 active committees: collaboration, education, transportation, and housing. I have served with very dedicated people who, through their efforts, have made a difference for seniors in Elmhurst. We have made great strides in providing services and resources to the senior community. We host an annual collaboration meeting with 40-plus senior service providers in Elmhurst, host community conversations, presentations 3 times a year, provide the Pocket Pal resource guide to all seniors, provide housing tours to newly elected officials, and host an annual Outstanding Senior Service program. Most recently, the Transportation Committee recommended the new senior disabled ride service that is currently being implemented, Ride to Page. The service will provide quality, reliable transportation for seniors. We also have an ad hoc committee that has recommended to the Park District a new updated center for seniors. Through the Park District strategic plan that was recently conducted, the Park District has gained insight from the community that there is a need for an updated center for seniors. We as a commission will be advocating and working very hard for an updated or new center, and are suggesting that it is an intergovernmental project partnering the Park District, the city, and the hospital. We are also advocating for a consolidation of services, resources, activities, and educational programs that would be housed in one location, a one-stop shop in the updated or new Center for Seniors. I continue to say dream big. Now, Julie, I do have a story that was shared at Phil's award presentation, and I would like to share it again this evening. Phil and I always reminisce about different things that have happened over the course of our years of involvement and changes that have taken place in Elmhurst. The one memory we always talk about around the holidays, we would like to share with you all. Phil was elected in 1991 to be the alderman of the 5th Ward. The downtown Elmhurst of 1991 was much, much different from the downtown of today. Visualize not much foot or car traffic, vacant stores, darkened storefronts. All the aldermen were invited to go to the Christmas tree lighting in downtown Elmhurst. It was held in between the alleyway across from the now Community Bank, and the tree was not very large, about 6 or 7 foot. Mayor Garrigus and his wife, Pat, 4 aldermen and their wives, and Phil and I and a child were the only ones that were in attendance. I remember asking Phil, "Where is everybody? There's only 10 of us here." Joe Vanek was the only child who attended and was asked to light the Christmas tree. We all cheered, talked a little, and we went home. Fast forward us to today. Elmhurst has come a long way. A bustling, busy downtown, many restaurants, stores, and wonderful York Theater. There is not a downtown gathering that doesn't attract hundreds of people. A lot has happened, but is due to dedicated people getting involved, caring about their community, and making things happen. I'm receiving this award, but it belongs equally to all the people I have had the good fortune to work and volunteer with at different stages in my life, including the people here this evening who continue to give of their time to make Elmhurst a great place to live. I have always said you are only as good as the people you are working with, and I have been fortunate to work with many, many wonderful people. Stay involved and never stop wanting your community to be the best. Every morning when I am putting on my jewelry, and believe me, I like jewelry, so people will understand that, I have a bracelet that has a quote from Peter Pan, and it reads, "What if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" I'm accepting this award on behalf of my father, my husband Phil, who has always supported me, Dan, Rachel, my son, and my daughter-in-law, London and Christy, who are my grandchildren, and for all those whom I have volunteered with, who have been the wind under my wings and allowed me to fly. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for this award. Thank you all.
Thank you again, Cathy. And with that is the end of tonight's DSA. So appreciate everybody for coming. I don't think they're going to kick us out just yet. So please congratulate Cathy and the other DSAs in attendance. And again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Great night.
The City of Elmhurst and the School and Community Assistance for Recycling and Composting Education, SCARES, are inviting residents to recycle their cooking oil after the Thanksgiving holiday. Residents can bring their used liquid cooking oil in a milk jug, bucket, or other container to the Elmhurst Public Works Garage, 985 South Riverside Drive, on Saturday, November 24th from 9 a.m. till noon. Cooking oil sticks to sewer pipes and can cause clogs and breaks that are costly for homeowners and municipalities to fix. Grease also interferes with the water treatment process at our sanitary facilities. Once collected, Green Grease Environmental and Chicago Biofuels will convert the cooking oil into biodiesel fuel. Representatives from various organizations will be on site at the collection to assist residents and ensure that only cooking oil is deposited into the recycling bin. Please see www.scaresecoed.org for more information.